Princess Di got married and dead baby. Manus and Rebecca were still together in July of '81. They shared a campfire and a small nylon tent, but the connection between them seemed to have been cracked, if not broken in two. He had been a monster to her, a loud-mouthed, violent bully from which her sensitive, caring soul shrank. They had travelled with a convoy of flatbacks, caravans, cars, army vehicles, and motorbikes from Stonehenge to Ingleston Common, a piece of common land just outside Bristol. Jacinta arrived on site on the back of Cammy's, short for Kamikaze because he rode the wall of death at the circus sometimes, large motorbike. Jacinta was 36 years old and still wore her sexuality as both shield and weapon. It seemed somehow natural that Manus and her should hit it off. She said he was a Virgo monkey like her. She said they could use each other, and they did. They shagged. After a few coke-fueled sex sessions, she persuaded him to come back to Brixton with her. He didn't take much persuasion. She worked in a massage parlour. That is, she would toss guys off, or give them a blowjob, or open her legs and have them do what they wanted to her. Manus figured the work would wear too hard on any human, but apart from that, he had no issues with prostitution. Wasn't it all prostitution while you sold your body on a building site or a brothel? She didn't need a pimp, but she wanted a man, someone to care, someone to be there. She wasn't much different from her punters in that respect. Manus would always remember when Charles and Di got married. He woke up on a waterbed. Jacinta was beside him. It was Jacinta's room in Jacinta's house. Her bedroom had a mirrored wall wardrobe and Turkish light fittings. A proper boudoir. She would set him up in the grass business, she said. She said that's what all the men in the area did. They sat at home and sold grass while their women sold their bodies. Alice had few qualms about the situation. Her skin was softer and more flabby than he was used to feeling on anyone but his mother. The drink and the drugs had taken it out of her, but she still had it. She was a soft, sweet, intelligent, inquisitive thing underneath the ass with class routine she put on. But yeah, Manus woke up on a waterbed. Her lodger had brought the first bottle of champagne up to her room, and Manus drank it, sat wobbling on the waterbed. It was a national holiday, when even the toss shops had closed, and a dozen girls from the parlour were starting the celebrations off in Jacinta's boudoir. More champagne and some coke was brought. At some point, three blokes called with a pound of grass. Jacinta gave Manus the money and he bought a pound of fine Jamaican. Later, everyone made their way down the street to the pub for more booze. There were postcards going around showing the royal couple waving from the balcony, with one hand while sticking their other hands up each other's bums. It was a grand day by Manus. Dead baby. Manus and Rebecca got back together at the end of the summer. They had met up and shagged twice since their breakup, but they had both shagged other people too. Now she was pregnant, and they couldn't be sure who the daddy was. She said he might be able to accept it mentally, but he wouldn't emotionally, and she had made arrangements for a termination. He wouldn't condone or condemn the act. What had it got to do with him? What another human being did with her own body? As it happened, pregnancy wasn't all she had come away with that summer. She also had hepatitis. The hepatitis made the termination more complicated. She had to stay in the hospital for a week beforehand. Nothing like drawing a shit situation out. Julie called to give him a lift to the clinic. That was nice of her. She didn't come in to see Rebecca herself. She just sat in the car. On the way home on the third day, she got Manus to come into her house to help her move a box in the kitchen. She made coffee and shared a little smoke of her smack with him. He'd always been a needle man, but a little toot was okay. He appreciated what had to be a generous offer for a junkie. She told him she hated the stuff and wanted to give up, but she just couldn't. She told him she was like the junkie heroine in that movie with Paul Newman, where the heroine is just waiting for her prince to come riding up on his big white horse and rescue her. Manus wondered if he was being given Paul Newman's role. She had him come upstairs to move another small box. She told him she had put up with loads of shit from her ex-boyfriend because he was so good in the sack, but she had to get rid of him in the end. She wasn't a particularly pretty woman, but she wasn't bad either. She still looked healthy and fit, even with the gear. But Manus didn't seem to have the notion. He didn't like to be rude to people, especially since she was being so nice with giving him lifts to the clinic and small smokes of smack. But he didn't make the moves he was supposed to. He didn't shag with her, and she stopped calling to give him a lift to the clinic. He seemed to be going round in a semi-somnolent state. What was he supposed to do? To feel? Rebecca was in hospital, aborting a child, possibly his. Rebecca was a rich kid, really, an American doctor's daughter, a bona fide Jewish American princess, and she had fallen for a bum like him. She'd given up her friends, family, and home for him. She was on the other side of the world from where she was born. Now she was in hospital. Eventually, the medical procedure was carried out, the chopping up and sucking out, and the termination complete. Manus looked at her afterwards, lying on top of the bed, looking pale, drained, and numb. He imagined the smell of dead baby wafting from between her legs, and even his self-centered, self-obsessed little self was touched for a moment and emphasized with the little hurt animal. There was a note from Julie when he got home. Henry called. He won't be staying long. Not trying to get into your pants, just want to see you smile. It was a sweet note at a dark time, and sure, Henry made him, if not smile, then at least feel as numb as Rebecca.